If there is one, what is your biggest professional regret? In other words,
Oh,
is there something you could do differently?
I do. I have a lot of, I don't have a lot. I have some professional regrets. I think probably, you know, I mentioned it, when my father passed away, I decided to stay in Louisville for a couple of years just to be with my family and to sort of make sure everything was settled. And you know, a number of friends, including my advisor in college, everybody was suggesting, you know, move to a larger community where you can sort of get some experience and then come back. And one of the things that I really regretted is that when you're in your early 20s and you decide to do that, you can usually afford to start out in a much sort of lower tiered position in a larger organization. And you really, when you're young and you screw up at that sort of point in your life, it's kind of expected if you're in a larger corporation or an organization. And that's one of the regrets that I have, is that in my really in my 20s, until I was probably in my later 20s when I moved to Boston, I didn't have that. I was here. And while I loved being here, it was definitely a part of my life where I think you could have probably gotten a different perspective being in another city or another environment or that sort of thing. And on that same note, another professional regret that I have is when I decided that I was going to move back to Louisville, or that I wanted to leave Boston rather, I had an opportunity to go work for a startup nonprofit in New York, and at the time I was just kind of like, no, you know, I really want to go back to Louisville. I just want to be back with family and friends, and you know, in hindsight, I really regret not going and working with that organization, because the organization is now huge. It's, you know, got funding from a number of major international foundations, and you know, I'm still in touch with the folks who were there, and but you do kind of regret that it would have been fascinating to be on the ground floor.
Started Tandem. You know,
well, you're right. You're right. But
so
I mean,
there's always those forks. But yeah.
Yeah, and the way that I sort of see it too is that, you know, you kind of look back and you regret things, but at the end of the day, if you spend your time regretting, you just waste more time. But I think everybody does have regrets, but you know, it's just a matter of accepting it and moving on.
Well, it's nice to know where you've been and where you're headed. So
exactly.